I would say the thing we really need for the arts in Fremont is some type of performing arts space.
Yeah.
And not just necessarily for performances of art, but there are so many different things that would be able to use a space.
Coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time.
Hello, Fremont. This is Joe. We are on Sabercat Creek Trail. You are listening to episode 67 of the Fremont Podcast.
Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
Okay. So I'm recording now. Margaret, tell me who you are.
My name is Margaret Thornberry.
Okay.
I moved to Fremont in 1996.
All right.
And I met Sharon Marshak.
Okay. Yep.
Shortly after I moved here.
Yep. Interviewed her for the Tri-City Voice.
She immediately pulled me into meetings of the Fremont Cultural Arts Council.
Okay. So she was part of the council when you first got here?
Yes.
Okay.
And before I knew it, I was on the board, and I served as president for a number of years, and I've just stepped back.
Now, when you say number of years, I don't know if you're being modest or it's just been, like, how long were you the president of the...
Close to 10 years, I think. 10 years.
Okay. For a volunteer organization, I think having somebody commit themselves to leading something like that for that long I think it's significant. So that's really great.
Well, before I became president, it was Dick McKay.
Okay, yeah.
And he's a pillar of the community and has been.
That's awesome, yeah.
So our current president is Julie Gilson.
Okay.
And Susan Longini. You asked me who Susan Longini is.
You're sending over
she's a local artist.
Oh, wow.
Who is world collected of kiln-formed glass, and several of her works are local. First work of hers I saw was up at the Fremont Animal Shelter, which was etched glass, but since then she's gone into kiln-formed glass.
Okay.
And some of her works are now just recently installed up at the Masonic Home.
Okay. Wow.
And she's very invested in the arts.
Yeah.
And so she saw the idea that California State and now Alameda County have come up with the idea of making April every year Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. And she talked to Julie Gilson, and they talked to a few more people. And the next thing you know, they have a group called Fremont Creates.
Okay. Well, let me back up just real quick. When did California make April the Creativity Arts Cultural Month?
2019.
So it was just a couple years ago. And then Alameda County followed up with that?
Last year, okay. And then Fremont Creates is our local expression of how we're kind of leaning into that. Is that right? Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Fremont Creates. What is that?
Okay, it's an ad hoc group of people who are interested in the arts, want to support the arts, and we've talked to a lot of the arts communities who many of them have things already happening in the month of April. And they've all agreed to become part of Arts, Culture, and Creativity and have their events listed on the online calendar under fremontcreates.org.
That's cool.
So this is the first year that Fremont has taken off with it. Last year, Sacramento took off with it. Before that, not anybody really knew about it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see if we can do as much as Sacramento.
I love it. I think it's great. Well, we've kind of leaned into that also at the podcast, Fremont Podcast. So I just interviewed Durba, who is a artist. She does different pastel as well as oil paintings over in the Mission San Jose district, and I met her through the Better Block event that they had down there, but she does a lot of painting. So I interviewed her. I've interviewed the Athena Project, which is a group. It's actually a 501c3 started by high schoolers in our community that use art. They painted a large mural that is now at Washington Hospital. We're going to be featuring them in the month of April. We have an interview with the Olive Hyde house, and we'll be hearing their story a little bit and talking to them about what they're doing. But I'm super excited that you're on here because it's I feel like you guys are at the heart of what all of these things that are happening around our community. So this is really great.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate being interviewed.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump into a couple things. Do you have a particular role on the board now? You said you were president for about 10 years. What is your role now on the board?
It's one of those, how do you pronounce sinecure or sinecure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce all those fancy names. Okay.
I am liaison with the Alameda County Arts Commission because I'm on that commission.
Okay.
And Fremont Art Now, which is kind of an ad hoc group that during the middle of the pandemic were passing out things like chalk. So people could get on their driveways and put chalk or something like that. And they also did haiku that we then judged and so on and so forth.
So I want to ask in its basic form, because you've mentioned, you gave me a tour of this house before we started recording. Mm-hmm. I got to see a lot that's going on. I see stuff for the symphony over here. We saw a room where there are people who've given their contributions for the juried exhibit, which I want to talk to you about that in a few minutes as well. I've seen a lot of different things. At its basic form, how would you describe what is the Fremont Cultural Arts Council? What does it do?
The original format was that we were going to be an umbrella for the arts in Fremont and bringing together all these efforts. As you pointed out earlier, part of the problem has been that there's a lot of organizations trying to do good things in Fremont, but little coordination between the different groups. And so we had, I'm sure probably in the file cabinet, I could find it for you, a calendar before everybody had a computer. Mm-hmm. That we would mail out every month that would have all of the activities in cultural arts that were going to be happening in the city that month.
Okay.
And that was part of our justification for charging at the time, $10 a month.
Wow.
Or $10 a year, rather.
How could you do that?
I insisted that we had to increase it to $15 a year when I became president.
That's good. You raised it 150%. That's great.
Yeah. And I think for organizations or families, it's $25.
Okay, that makes sense. So it started out that way. What does it do now? It's just basically trying to bring together the different types of arts and cultural things that are happening within the city?
Yes.
Okay.
I tried when I was president to arrange an online calendar similar to the Fremont Focus, which is the name of our pink pages that we had. But we didn't have the expertise and the people who were willing to spend the time. Each organization, like the Fremont Art Association, they had their calendar put on their webpage. Olive Hyde had it put on their page. And trying to pull all these together, even when it was a printed item, became difficult because everybody was going in their own direction, as you pointed out. Mm-hmm. Used to drive Doris Green, who was the person who did all that to create the Fremont Focus, crazy, because she'd call people and call them and try to get the information on what they had going on in order to create the printed thing.
Yeah.
But now, since everybody has it online,
right,
I'm pleased to see that the Fremont Creates, just for that 1 month of April, has begun to create a calendar of all the arts, and I'm hoping that can be expanded on.
That'd be great. Yeah.
So I think we're still hoping to become kind of, maybe not an umbrella for the arts, but to be a central point of contact for the arts.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, I know that just in talking with you both, I think even maybe while we were recording, but I know for sure before we were recording that you talked about different ways in which the FCAC has donated money or raised money for particular things around the city. Mm-hmm. Does the FCAC rely specifically on its members' fees, or are there donors that also give to help support you guys? Because it seems like what you're doing is supporting everybody else, right? And you're giving to everybody else. So what is the main way that you guys are funded in order to be able to help all these different organizations around the city?
Does the phrase beg, borrow, and steal mean anything to you? There is kind of an interlocking directorate of activities that go on in the city of Fremont, which is another thing I really enjoy about the town.
Yeah.
The candlelighters make tremendous nonprofits when they do their candied apples.
Okay.
And they do a wonderful job of the ghost house. Thank heavens they had it again this year. And so we got a little over $1,000 for a specific project that we have in mind. We're asking for grants from people. Very often our members will donate a little extra. We try with all of our events to keep the prices very low.
Yeah.
But at least pay for the prizes, for example.
Yeah.
On the Flash Fiction Contest, we're having 2 this year, one during the month of April in honor of April.
Yeah.
And somebody had a mother who enjoyed writing so a great deal, and they're willing to fund the prizes for this second Flash Fiction Contest, which is going to be a day in the life of an artist.
Oh. That's kind of
subject.
cool. Yeah, I love that. That's
300
really cool.
words or less.
Wow.
And so we try to be self-funding as much as possible.
Okay.
And we've been fortunate enough in that we are, unlike most nonprofit organizations in the arts, have a little cushion. That's largely thanks to Julie Gilson, who was our treasurer for a long time.
Yeah.
Her profession is as a CPA. Any money that we got, she put into interest-bearing accounts of one kind or another. So we've got a little cushion.
Yeah.
I won't say we've got a lot.
Yeah.
But we're not scraping the bottom of the barrel every
Yeah,
time we
yeah.
decide to do something.
We'll be right back. You can hear the rest of this conversation in just a moment.
Hello, Fremont. This is Andrew, checking in on Ricky, who's actually at Own It Fitness. Do you remember back on episode 56 when he interviewed the owner, Miguel? Well, he didn't just talk to the man, he actually started signing up for classes. Hey, Ricky.
What's up, man?
So the difference between today and the first time you were here?
Oh, first time I was here, I thought I was going to die. I actually got home, my muscles, I could barely sit down, barely stand up. Next morning, I was having a hard time moving. Now, when I get up out of bed, I feel like I can actually hop up and I have energy in the morning. When I'm sitting down, I feel I can get up. I have my 2 boys at home, my 10-year-old and my 8-month-old, and they would ask me to wrestle with them or play with them, and I always hated it because I was just not feeling it in my body, and now my body feels like it has the energy to do that, so I feel great.
And where are we?
Yeah, we're on the corner of Blakow and Mowry. It's kind of hidden away, but if you Google it, you can find it pretty easily. If you just park in the parking lot behind the building, you can find it right inside the little square here.
If people want to go here, what should they do?
Yeah, Own It Fitness. You can go to their Instagram. They post stuff there. You can also go to, I believe it's ownmyfitness.com. But you can look for Own It Fitness on Google, or you can go to their Instagram, and you can connect with them there. They've got all kinds of personal training options. They've got class options. They got a lot of different things going on, and they just expanded their space. So they practically doubled their workout space, which is fantastic. It gives a lot of room for everyone to be doing their own workout.
Are you looking to buy or sell your home this year? The Petrocelli family has been in our community for decades. It started with John Petrocelli building homes all around our community. And later, John and Jennifer Petrocelli became partners as real estate agents. Whenever I visit Jennifer at Petrocelli Homes in Niles, she treats me like family, and I'm not in the housing market right now. If they treat me that way, I know that they'll treat you that way. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, reach out to Jennifer Petrocelli at Petrocelli Homes in Niles. In fact, pull out Instagram right now, look up Petrocelli Homes. I bet Jennifer's on Instagram right now. Dale Hardware is now ready to open their own pet center. Now you can get all of your pet supplies. You can get everything you need for your furry friends right at Dale Hardware. On top of that, Dale Hardware is the only hardware store in the country that has a destination center for Milwaukee tools. There are more Milwaukee tools under that roof than any other retail establishment in the country. Even with these big changes, the heart of Dale Hardware has not changed. So come on down to Dale Hardware and let a specialist help you find exactly what you're looking for with the type of care and attention that hasn't changed for over 65 years. And now, back to our conversation. Where did you grow up?
In Oregon,
Okay.
Weyerhaeuser Camp 4.
Wow. I know this is a little sidetrack, and I want to get back to where we're at, but what brought you from Oregon down to Fremont?
Klamath Falls, Oregon is a small town.
Yeah.
And they're very conventional, or tended to be back when I was living there. And my brothers were unique people. And they had moved to San Francisco one way or another.
Okay.
And so when I was 12, my parents put $5 in my pocket, pinned it in, and sent me on the bus down here to visit my brothers. And they met me at the bus depot and immediately took me up to Chinatown and made me eat with chopsticks.
Wow. You were 5 years old?
12.
12 years old. Wow. That's pretty incredible. And then you just stayed here after that?
No, I went
Okay.
back home, but I knew where I wanted to be.
Okay.
And so I went to college at Whittier College in the LA area.
Okay.
I went to college for a year and a half, then I got married and moved to Spain for 2 years.
Wow.
And
What did you do in Spain? What was
was
the
just a
draw there?
housewife.
Just to be there?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Married to an Air Force guy.
Okay.
My high school sweetheart, actually.
Aw.
And then, we traveled around. We lived different places. And then he wanted to go home to mom, and that didn't work out for me. So let's see, I worked for Delta Airlines
Wow.
for 12 and a half years and traveled around a little bit like that.
Wow.
Anyway, enough about me. Let's
No,
talk
that's
about,
great. And then you ended up in Fremont, right?
I ended up in Fremont because I had a boyfriend who
Okay.
lived here.
Okay.
And he kind of talked me into moving here.
That's awesome. Why do you think it's well, first of all, let me ask you this. When did you find your passion for the arts? Was there something specifically that inspired you to be involved in the arts? I know you said you met Sharon, but apart from that, you guys must have had something in common that you enjoyed. What inspires you when it comes to the arts?
Darn, Ricky, you're a really good interviewer. Okay. Blommy Blomquist.
Oh, Blommy Blom. I don't know who that is.
That was my high school drama teacher.
Okay.
We did plays, Drums of Death,
Okay.
and she taught us Shakespeare.
Huh. Wow.
And it was a door to another universe for a little girl who grew up in a logging camp.
Wow. That's cool. You see, and I think that's the point, is that you grew up in a logging camp. And I mean, I feel like most of my life was shaped by farming communities, because I grew up in a place where my grandparents were dairy farmers. My other grandparents were, they lived in a homestead in northern Wisconsin, and my parents were products of that. And that was part of my community. And then when I was in fourth grade, I started going to a school called the Academy of Arts, and arts was very much a part of my early childhood. But here I was a farm boy, similar to you, growing up in a logging community, and then kind of getting that exposure and being able to see a whole different world out there. I think that's great. If you were to pitch it to people, what would you say why is it important for people to cultivate an interest in the arts for themselves? I know we've kind of already talked about that, but do you have an opinion or something that you've shared with people as to why they should be involved in the arts?
Funny you should mention that. I was thinking about how science is a combination of the arts, which are somewhat random, and things like mathematics, which are very specific. You're going to try something scientifically, and you try a bit randomly, and then you take those results and make them specific. And I think that the arts are an important part of the things we do with science. You're talking about technology here. And in order to be a whole person, you have to have both randomness and specificity.
I just interviewed Durba, who I think her episode will come out before this, so it'll probably be already out for people to hear. But she was talking about during COVID, she went from doing abstract painting to geometric painting. And she was saying that during COVID, everything just kind of got mushy. The days, one day went into the next, and it was just like kind of lost track of what day it was, of what day of the week it was, and all that. And she was kind of starting to feel it in her psyche, you know. And then she said that one of the things that helped stabilize her was going from just abstract art to doing geometric abstract art. So she would take geometric shapes and put them together, and it helped create some sort of a structure for her as she was, you know, navigating through that. But what's even more interesting is the interview that I had before her was with someone who teaches Russian mathematics in Fremont. She's the principal of the Russian mathematics school here. She loves, I believe she said it was jazz music. And I asked her why she did that, and she said, well, mathematics helps me make sense of the world around me. But it also, music has mathematical structure to it, has mathematical origin. So it's just funny. You're the third person that I've talked to, both someone who has her master's degree from St. Petersburg in Russia in mathematics, and then artists that are kind of like all leaning into this idea together, which is just really, really cool. And I think what you're saying is exactly right. Like, we're known for being in the Silicon Valley area. We're known for technology and in digital and virtualism, virtual worlds and stuff like that. But there's something about both the art and the science coming together at a meeting at a point that's really beautiful. That's awesome. Wow. Well, it seems like over the years, you guys have done a phenomenal job of casting a vision for what might be here in the city of Fremont, and really trying to bring together a unification of the arts. I'm just wondering, maybe and I know you're probably going to just speak for yourself and not necessarily for everybody who's involved, but I'm just curious, in your opinion, what do you think would be like an ideal cause, or like if we were to look down the road 10 years from now and we were to say the FCAC was able to accomplish something that really fulfilled the goals and dreams of what it can do for Fremont, what would you say are those dreams and the goals, and what would you think, based on your experience and interaction with all these different organizations in the community, what would you say would just be a really wonderful thing that the FCAC could accomplish for the city of Fremont?
I would say the thing we really need for the arts in Fremont is some type of performing arts space.
Yeah.
And not just necessarily for performances of art, but there are so many different things that would be able to use a space where a large audience could get together. Now, I know that the event center is useful to some degree, but that is not a very large space.
Right.
And having visited there for the Spring Into STEM, or STEAM earlier this week, I had to park down the street, that parking lot right down in the
filled
downtown.
right up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that having been in the arts myself, I mean, I traveled and did theater for quite a while as a young person, and then in my early adult life, also involved in singing. I think that one of the best things that we could lean into as a community is the arts, because I think that there's a lot of benefits for us to have different avenues to be able to enjoy. I know that a lot of things are going more toward the digital and the tech side of things now, and people are thinking about how to have a more successful career at their lives. But I think that the arts is one of those things that helps us to remind that we are a culture, that we're a people, that we're humans, that we need to experience beauty, and to be able to understand what beauty is, and how to appreciate it, and how to appreciate the types of things that people create. And so I think having a center for the arts would just be phenomenal. Let's talk about the calendar, the Arts Council. Throughout the year, right now, there's I think it's the 28th annual juried photography exhibit. Is it the 28th?
I thought it was the 29th.
It
but
might
I
be the
could be wrong.
29th. It might be the 29th. Yeah. So tell me about, what is the juried photography exhibit? What is that? What is that about? What does it do?
Well, what it is about now is anybody who lives or works in Fremont can submit a photograph that they've taken. It has to be framed and mounted, and then all the photographs are judged. We have some special categories, but of course the usual first, second, third, honorable mentions. Alvin Doctor was another one of our members who's since gone, and he did a lot of nature photographs. So there's a special exhibit or a special award for anybody who does images of photographs of wildlife or animals.
Okay.
And the president's choice. Now, this is one of the things I regret about not being president anymore, is I loved to pick a picture.
Your favorite.
My favorite, and we give them an award. And now Julie's looking forward to it.
That's
a great deal, because we haven't had the public show during COVID.
Yeah.
But it's now at the library.
Okay, so the downtown the Main Street Library.
The main Fremont Library.
Not the Main Street, but the main Fremont Library.
On Stevenson and Paseo Padre.
Yeah. So how many photographs are hanging there with this exhibit?
As many as they could hang. I didn't go the day that they were hanging them, but there were something like 150 photographs submitted.
Wow.
And you saw there were some that didn't quite make the cut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And but I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous show. It's on now.
Yeah. So it's I think the dates are well, if they're there now, then they're there now. But it's supposed to be from April 1st to May 6th. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So a part of the April being this focus on arts and culture. Go down to the main library and check out the photographs that are on exhibit now as part of 28th or 29th year of this exhibit. Is there a history behind that? Like why? I'm curious why it's called a juried photography exhibit, and what's the story behind that?
We hire professional judges.
Oh,
and the backstory is that we had this one large closet here as a dark room. And for a while, after digital photography first came in, there was some resistance to allowing digital photography into the show.
Interesting. Wow. Because it had to be something that was developed then. Okay. That's interesting.
And then there was a little bit of resistance to digital photography that had been modified digitally.
Yeah.
But now,
whatever.
Yeah. It's a striking.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's a striking image that is
That's
judged. Cool. And we're especially gratified this year that so many of the entries were from younger people.
Yeah. Is there an age limit for this? No, just any age. Is there a different category for, say, film versus digital, or are they kind of all lumped together? Okay.
That distinction has been erased.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, my dad, I got into photography as a kid, and I remember my dad had a dark room in our basement in Wisconsin, and I would go down. It was a creepy basement, but he had a room that was designated, and he would develop all of his own film down there. He would talk to me about what makes a good photograph and what doesn't make a good photograph. So from an early age, I was understanding composition and that sort of thing, and then I think I probably had a camera in my hand, or at least around me, most of my life since then. So I love photography. I've never submitted anything to this, so maybe next year I'll have to grab a couple of photos and submit something.
I'm going to hold you to it.
There you go. That'd be great. I love that. How does the FCAC support arts for kids in our community, whether it's through the school system or whether it's through just some of these other organizations? Like, what are some of the ways that you guys support arts, the involvement of kids in the arts around our city?
Well, it's kind of the, I'll use the word art again, the art of incrementalism. Like, we do many small things, and cumulatively it makes a difference. One of the small things we're doing now is, are you familiar with the Alameda County last year came out with what they call the activity pages?
No, actually I don't know about that.
I really enjoy being a member of the Alameda County Arts Commission, partly because, of course, they're paid staff.
Yeah.
but they're terrific people.
Okay.
So they can get a lot done.
Okay.
And one of the staff people up there, Violet, came up with the idea of having a activity sheet which included the paint as part of the page. And this is
that's
the page
cool.
that they
see
did
this.
last year.
This was put out by the Alameda.
County Arts Commission.
Okay. Celebrating everyone's creativity, art is hope. And then it's kind of something that you would normally just color in, but it's got paint on the sides. That is super cool.
Here's your brush.
Wow.
You put a little water on that.
Look at that. And this was something they did last year then?
Last year. That's
Okay.
last year's design.
Very cool.
Now they have a new design this year, which has not yet been published, but should be out momentarily.
Okay.
And you asked me what the Fremont Cultural Arts Council specifically does for children and
Yeah.
the community. We are not only accepting the amount that we're allowed to have free from the Alameda County, but we also voted as a board to buy substantially more copies
Wow.
of the design that's coming out this year. And one of our board members, Al Menard, whom you should interview one of these days.
Al Menard. Yeah, that's one of the things you told me when I came in here. Like I said on the podcast, if anybody knows of anybody else I should interview, and you've given me like 5 people already, so that's great. That's great. So Al Menard. So
Al Menard said he wanted to make sure that a substantial amount of these color pages went to disadvantaged children. You don't want to single out
Sure.
children,
Yeah.
because they get the free lunch program. You don't want to point that out to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it occurred to me that one of the best places in Fremont to see whole families together is St. Vincent de Paul.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
They have a big table out
Yeah.
front when you first come in the door, and they always have a whole display of whatever the current holiday might be. And that stops kids right in their tracks, and they're there with their grandparents. So I went down yesterday and talked to Renee Campbell, and she told me at length how hard they're working to support families at that St. Vincent de Paul. Their baby clothes are 50 cents a piece.
Wow.
And they will even have discounts in
Wow.
some cases. And they're trying to set up now for teenagers. The people come in and get the books, and of course older people as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take quite a substantial number of those paint pages from this year and leave them at St. Vincent de
That's
Paul
great.
for them to hand out to families that they come in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know my son would love this as well. So to be able to make this accessible for other people, I think is just fantastic.
And
Yeah.
you know who else loves doing these paint pages? Old people.
Older people.
I mean, I can say that because I'm older.
Yeah.
But, the senior centers, we're definitely going to be distributing them
that's
to the
great.
senior centers as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things that I'm curious about, there's do you guys keep a list of art in public places? Is that something that you guys do?
Well, you just spoke right to my heart, Ricky. We had a former member. She's since moved to Oregon. She's in her 90s.
Okay.
Margaret Talt. We
Okay.
referred to ourselves as the two Margarets.
Okay. The two Margarets. There you go.
And she came to the Fremont Cultural Arts Council board meeting to tell us that there was a real failure in the city to archive public art and that we needed to do it. And I looked at her. This was when I was president. And I said, that's a great idea. You do it. And we would go out. We would take photographs. Her son took photographs. She would research the artists. And everything that you see on the City of Fremont website or that you see on the Fremont Creates website, they have a link to all those things.
Wow.
It's
That's cool.
things that she researched.
Wow.
So I contacted her the other day. We keep in touch.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done. And told her that it was on the Fremont Creates, and she loved that.
That's cool. So what kind of art can people see? Like if like I know there's some of the more obvious ones around the city, like the circle, the rings of Unity, I think
Unity rings. Yeah.
Unity rings and near Central Park, and there's the one out on the corner of Maury and Paseo Padre, that the fountain that's there. I mean, those are two that come to my mind. But what other kind of art can people see around the city?
Well, if you're talking about public art in that area, say, for instance, close to the Unity Rings, it's not too far from what is a sculpture.
Okay.
It's called Stitches.
Stitches.
And it's two kind of oval shapes. And it is because as if you had taken a baseball and dissolved the baseball and left only the stitches.
Interesting. That's interesting. Wow. And that's in the field out there? Or
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Look it up.
Okay.
There are little hidden items everywhere. You know about the Pegasus. Are you familiar with the bronze statue of Pegasus?
Well, I know what a Pegasus is, but I don't know where there's a statue of one.
That was done by the same artist that did the Daphne and Apollo, which I think, as far as I know, is the only nude statue we have in Fremont.
Okay. Wow.
Are you familiar with that one?
No, I'm not familiar with any of these. Like, I just know, I have not gone around. So this is one of the things that I think would be a lot of fun, is to actually get a list of these and actually go around the city and just do a little video of all these different places that people could go research and discover for themselves as well. I think that'd be really cool. So tell me about these.
Let's see. Let me think what my favorite piece is, perhaps. I'm fond of the Benny Bufanos that we have here in town.
Okay.
They have one near the Chapel of the Chimes,
Okay.
which is a St. Francis statue. And the shadow between his feet is the form of a bird.
That's cool. Wow.
And they also have penguins, and that's up at the Kaiser Hospital.
Huh. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to check that out. That's very, very cool. Man, I've learned so much. I'm sure that there's so much more that you guys have done that, you could talk about for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything particular that is, I know that there's been some things that you said have been something you've been passionate about, or things that you've been able to do in your time here. Is there anything else that people would benefit from knowing about FCAC that you guys do or that you've done to help us get to know a little bit more about the organization?
I think everybody should join.
Okay. And what does it mean? What does it take to join? What does it mean for somebody who joins?
You give us $15 a year, and you can be a member and be an art supporter.
That's great.
And there's really no tangible benefit to it, other than the fact that you know that you're supporting arts in Fremont.
Yeah.
As an example, you asked me about grants and things like that as to where we get our financing. We got a grant recently from the Candlelighters, bless their hearts. And you saw the two pictures that we have out front on the windows of the building now. Those were past winners in the photo contest, which we have put up in a format which we learned about from the Alameda County Arts Commission people, that it looks opaque from the outside, but actually we can see outside from the inside.
That's cool.
So it makes a very nice window treatment, and it makes the building look a little more like someplace that fosters the arts.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But the Candlelighter grant is going to be used to build a vinyl banner which features the pictures of Ralph Cooksey Talbot, who does wonderful photographs of the hills. Big format.
Wow.
He sells them to corporations for their lobbies and things like that.
That's
amazing
cool.
pictures.
Wow.
And he's giving us a very good price on reproducing some of his work. And that's going to be used on construction fences around Fremont.
That's cool. Wow. That's amazing. That's very, very cool. I love what I've learned about the city and about what you guys are doing here in the city, and what you've done for over 50 years. I think it's really phenomenal. So everyone should join. They should all pay their $15 to join. Do they need to come down here to your office to sign up, or how do they sign up?
I believe there's an application form online.
Okay.
On our webpage.
Okay.
Fremont Cultural Arts Council, all one word, .org.
Okay. And are there other events that you guys either feature or support or endorse throughout the year? I know that we're focused on this month because it's a special month, but if we're looking at the rest of the year, are there other things coming up that we should know about?
Well, we're having the special extra flash fiction contest in April, but normally it's in the fall.
Okay.
And it's at Half Price Books.
Okay.
We coordinate with them.
That's great.
And we did also mention the photo contest.
Yeah.
We do a number of things through the year.
Yeah.
Mostly small, mostly coordinating with other groups.
That's great.
And as I said, it's a case of incrementalism.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. And then here in your offices here, you were giving me the tour, but we have is it the Fremont Symphony? They changed their name recently, right?
Bay Philharmonic now.
The Bay Philharmonic, and they use space in here, as well as, was it the Fremont Ecology?
Tri-City Ecology.
Tri-City Ecology. Okay, I'll get all these. And you guys coordinate with them, or they just kind of are able to use the space for whatever they're doing?
Our third permanent tenant is the League of Women Voters.
Okay.
And they pay a percentage of the person who comes in every week or so and cleans the place up, and the utilities.
Okay.
And that's all
That's
they
great.
pay.
Yeah.
And anybody who joins as a group, they are allowed to rent the building. There are a number of different small conference areas.
Yeah.
We host the Bridge Club. We host the Stamp Club. We host the Fremont Photographic Society that puts on our annual juried photo show.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad that we got to do this interview, this conversation, and it was so good to meet you, Margaret. I'm going to join. I'll be a part of the council, and I would love to support whatever I can here with whatever you guys are doing, because I think this is a worthy cause to be a part of, and I'm really glad that you were able to share so much of this with me. So thank you very much for being on the podcast, sharing. And I'd love to encourage anybody else who's listening to take a moment and become a part of this community so that you can further the work that's going on here.
Thank you so much. I really have enjoyed it. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This episode was hosted and produced by Ricky B. I'm Gary Williams. Andrew Cavett is the editor. Music is provided through soundstripe.com. You can find links to our social media and other content at thefremontpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you're so inclined, leave a kind review so that others can find the podcast. Join us next week on the Fremont Podcast.
Volunteers, possibly staff, cleaning up and removing the flooring at the Aqua Adventure Park, probably in preparation for replacing it. The blue and colorful spongy stuff on the ground. It looks like hard work.
This is a Muggins Media podcast.